you throw in that element of, okay, now I got to react to the camera, and then I got to hunt, and then I got to react back to the camera. Whereas I feel like with solo, it's more just you're just documenting what's going on and kind of walking your way through it. In a lot of ways, it helps me because I'm like talking to the viewers, telling them what I'm doing, and then I'm like, well, maybe I'm not going to do that. No, I'm going to go and do this instead. So it gives you just that minute to sit back and think about the hunting process. So.
What is up, everybody? I have Jim to my right, and across from us virtually.
Yep, on the machine.
On the machine, but also together in a rare occurrence where he's actually around other people.
No, I'm not. I'm actually a long ways away from other people.
Well, I'm with us. With us is what.
Oh, with you, yeah.
Keep it going, Mark. Keep the wheels on.
Oh God, they're already falling off, Jim. We have Tim Burnett. Who is, you may know him, I know him personally, I guess, but also from Solo Hunter TV, as well as a bunch of other fantastic platforms where you can check Tim out and see what he's got going on in the hunting world.
That's right.
Tim, why don't you take the reins here and do a heck of a lot better of introducing yourself than I'm doing right now?
You want me to take the lead in on your podcast? Is that what you want me to do?
Would you?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Vortex Nation podcast. We're sitting here with Mark Boardman and Jimmy. Jimmy, I don't even know your last name. That's disgusting.
That's okay. Don't worry about it. I forget it sometimes too.
Yeah, Big Jim. So we're sitting here with Mark and Big Jim.
Yep.
And we're about to record a podcast, and I'm going to hit them with a line of questions and dig deep into their lives and talk about their, the Coos adventure? What was that? The Coos?
Oh, wait a minute. See, Mark, this is what happens when
you let... for Coos.
This is what happens when the wheels fall off on your intro. Now we're being interviewed.
Tim,
now you just lost your show. I just took your show from you, so...
the tables have turned. We're in the hot seat. Tim, frankly, I don't like your tactics.
If we were playing Uno right now, I would totally lay down my reverse card.
Yeah, wow. Well, so if I was interviewing you for my podcast, I'd have a list of questions for you. But since you're interviewing me for your podcast, it should just be as random as hell because there's really no point in going over specific details. It's like, just shoot it.
Send Mark. Mark, let's consult the list.
I'm just going to go to the list. We're gonna be systematic about this. So Tim,
I got your list. Yeah, I've got it sitting right in front of me. So
lovely.
So Solo Hunter TV. And solo hunting in general. So that's going to be the topic of this podcast. We'll get there. We're gonna talk about solo hunting, right?
Yes.
Which, Tim, you are an expert at solo hunting. I definitely commend you and I respect you for it because that is not the easiest thing to take on by any stretch of the imagination. There's a lot of different facets to it. There's a lot of different considerations.
We talked with Remy a little bit back as to how he sort of got into the solo hunting, solo filming sort of hobby, if you will, or job, really, lifestyle, life. How did it come upon you to just decide to, hey, you know what? I'm just going to do all this by myself, solo.
Gotcha. So I had been involved with some other outdoor productions and another outdoor television show for a while. In fact, I think you guys work with them now. But so when I started in the outdoor television space, it was traditional TV. The same crap that you see on TV now was the same crap we were doing back then. And like that's just the way it was done. When that evolved and changed and I kind of was more out on my own, it turned into more that I didn't want to pay a cameraman. I didn't want to do the same thing that everybody else was doing on outdoor television. And so essentially I was just filming my hunts in between after I left that show and was just doing my own thing. I was just filming my hunts and had a little local show in the Boise area called Behind the Rack Airing. I was partnered with my friend Steve Alderman, and we had a bunch of other guys providing footage. But everything that I was doing, I was filming by myself. So then when everything came about that I had the opportunity to produce a TV show with the Sportsman Channel, the only content that I had to present to them was solo self-filmed content. And so that essentially is what I had and what I was good at. And, that's what kind of launched it.
Is there like a, you obviously excel at it, right? I mean, what's the the appeal to you about hunting solo?
I'm selfish. I'm a control freak. I like to control the situations, I guess, and just do it. But a lot of it, initially it didn't. Part of it comes from like necessity, because not all your buddies can hunt at the same time. But a bigger part of it is that's just it's just what I like. I just like to go out and adventure and hunt, and most of the hunting and adventuring from the time I was really young was alone, and so it was just natural, So the appeal is that you can just do your thing, not second guess or not question, not have to. I could be the first shooter. I don't have to let somebody else shoot. I get to shoot, So it's just selfish.
Very cool.
Yeah,
very cool. Very cool being selfish.
It's okay to be selfish sometimes.
Sometimes it is. Yeah. Do you ever wind up? No. I'm trying to think back. I feel like I've seen some stuff, but like where you go on hunts with other people, and then that just? Do you feel like you're just in quicksand? Like all of a sudden, gosh, there's all these other people around that I gotta navigate.
No, everybody I've been able to hunt with, it's by choice, and so you get to kind of be selective. Like I've hunted with Remy, I've hunted with my brother, I hunt with my best friends, like that. So it's not like you ever get thrown into a camp with somebody you don't like, right? So Fortunately, you get to choose who you hunt with, and it's always been a blast. I love hunting with other people, and I wish I could do a lot more of it, but it just doesn't line out that way. And to where now it's like, I feel like if I schedule a hunt or take some time and set aside to go on a hunt, I almost feel like it has to be solo, or I'm wasting my time, or I'm wasting that investment into that time because of what I've built with Solo Hunter Show and the brand and the content. So
yeah.
So I look at everything at kind of two angles. Like I look at it as an entertainment angle, and I look at it from a business angle, and then I look at it from whatever else branding side of things.
Yeah.
So.
Would you still be solo hunter Tim Burnett if it wasn't? Well, I know that is kind of like your brand, so to speak. But if you weren't doing a TV show, maybe that's hard to imagine because that's just like your life. That's what you do. That's what you love to do. But if you weren't doing it for a TV show, like I know what you mean when you're saying if you go hunting, you almost have to go by yourself in order to not, in quote, almost sort of waste time doing it because you're like, well, I could have done this solo and then been filming it and it could have gone on the show or something. Would you still be doing it all if it wasn't for the show?
Yeah, I wouldn't be filming it. I'd still be hunting by myself for sure.
I
think that's what, like when I started it, and it, like say when the first season aired on Sports One Channel, it was like bam, it kind of hit me with all the viewer interaction. It was like there's a lot of people out here that hunt by themselves. There's a ton of people that can relate to this hunting aspect of going out without your buddies, whether it's a whitetail hunt or whether it's a backcountry hunt. A lot of guys have been hunting solo forever, long before I ever was. You look at Jack Frost, and there's a ton of people. And so it's like, it really hit me how relatable it was. And then equally as relatable, the amount of interaction that I got from guys just on the filming side of things that were like, how do you self-film this? How do you do that? So it kind of created two separate angles, really. You had the viewership, and I hate to use the word fan base, but you have the viewership of people that were really, really into the fact that you're out there hunting by yourself. And then there's the group of people that are really intrigued by the fact that you're filming this by yourself. And then there's a little bit of crossover too. So,
yeah, like you said, people have been, hunting by themselves for years in a lot of different scenarios, and oftentimes by necessity or just because you want to get away and just have that time. But the filming component adds a giant layer of of complexity for sure.
Yeah, it does. It makes it a lot more difficult. Different, I guess. Some situations aren't as tough, but yeah, it makes it way different for sure.
The filming though I feel like the filming aspect and solo hunting in general though go very hand in hand. Because since the dawn of time, practically, humans have been storytellers, right? You got, and we've mentioned it before on the podcast a few times. And when you trace it back, you look at cave paintings, and that was basically, if you went on a hunt and you wanted to, in a sense, sort of self-film it or tell the story later on, you just drew it on a cave wall, But now we have digital cameras and all that stuff that you can capture it, and so it's a way to sort of share that story. And so, if other people are there, then you kind of got your buddies with you, and you may film it, you may tell the story a little bit more, but everybody was there to see it. But when you're by yourself, in order to sort of tell that story, it does help to have, the aid of cameras and video equipment and photos to do so.
You're a modern caveman, Tim.
That's right.
Well, in a lot of ways, like when you've got a cameraman and a crew and everything, it's so unnatural. Like it takes a natural event that you're doing in hunting, and it makes it unnatural, because now all of a sudden, unless the guys are really good and everybody's fluid, but it's like you throw in that element of, okay, now I got to react to the camera, and then I got to hunt, and then I got to react back to the camera. Whereas I feel like with solo, it's more just you're just documenting what's going on and kind of walking your way through it. In a lot of ways, it helps me, because I'm like talking to the viewers, telling them what I'm doing, and then I'm like, well, maybe I'm not going to do that. No, I'm going to go and do this instead. So it gives you just that minute to sit back and think about the hunting process. So
the
hardest part for me is going back and forth.
Yeah, it's almost like a sounding board, but you're just talking with yourself. Do you talk to yourself a lot, Tim? No, but maybe
all the time. Yeah, but I don't feel like solo, like, and I think it shows on the camera. Both Remy and I, like, I don't think you're hamming to the camera when you're by yourself.
No,
and there's a lot more of that when you got your buddies there, your cameraman there jabbing you or asking you questions. Like, there's a lot more show going on.
Yeah, man. Like, and just hearing you talk about that and thinking back to all the episodes that I've watched, I mean, that truly does come through, and I think that is one of the big draws and appeals of the show, is that it does come off so natural. Like, people do feel like they're hunting with you, or they're just fully involved and along for that experience. And like you said, guilty of it. Somebody shoves a camera in your face, you're like, I feel like I got to be on. But like you said, you guys are like just really documenting things as they happen. You're talking through exactly what's going on, and I guess sometimes able to make some decisions. I know even just around here at work, or really anytime you can be like, okay, I got this idea, and it's like, okay, let's rap about it. And sometimes you end up in a completely different spot than your original idea, and just going through that process. So that's super interesting. But yeah,
the thing too is and you guys, a lot of people see what we're turning out now. They're seeing the shows and the hunts that we filmed in the last couple of years. Not a lot of people really can go back and look at the archives or look at some of the older stuff. It's like podcasting or anything else that you do consistently, do a lot. You get way better at it, way more fluid at it, way more natural at it.
I mean, you can tell that from my intro today.
Yeah, exactly. You look at the earlier stuff, and it's like, yeah, we're pretty awkward. The hunting situations might have been a little bit awkward. In fact, I'm going through a lot of the old episodes now, because we're publishing on a lot of different platforms, because I'm a big believer that your content never dies. It lives forever, and it only dies if you let it die. So I've been very, very good and successful at rejuvenating it and using it on a lot of different platforms, and essentially monetizing it for a long time. But if someone looked back at the old stuff, they'd be like, yeah, Tim and Remy, we wouldn't be as nearly as polished as we are now, I guess.
Yep.
But that's interesting. It's like a time capsule, though. I mean, some of that stuff is a sign of the times, and you can, there's definitely that throwback vibe that comes with it that is, super, I guess, not, maybe endearing's not the right word, but like,
yeah, it's fun to watch.
Yeah. It's cool, and like I said, it's the time. Maybe you're using different gear or using different tactics, and I don't know. I think sometimes it's definitely important to be able to look back on that stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some of it I look back and I'm like, wow, I was way better 10 years ago than I am now at certain things, like the way, just maybe it's the editing style or the filming style. It's like, gosh dang, I used to do that. Well, now I'm not. Now I'm kind of lazy. I just kind of just go through the process. But I think too, that's kind of been the evolution of the delivery of content too. It used to be that you needed everything polished. I mean, brands were spending hundreds of thousands of dollars to produce 30-second spots, and now people are producing and releasing content on their smartphones. And so I think just the appetite for the way content is delivered, is viewed, has changed. And so I think it plays into it to keep everything simple and to just do it more document style, more so than production style, cinematic production style.
Yeah, that's true.
Because a lot of our older stuff is way better looking than our newer stuff, from a
Interesting.
cinematic point of view.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, sure.
So getting back into like the actual act of like solo hunting and whatnot. So we did. There's that video series that we had coming out with you, and it showed a number of different things around the solo hunter. You solo hunting. One thing that I also enjoyed seeing was the one where you had your son out there and you were going hunting with him. It looked like a ton of fun. You were saying how when you got started hunting, a lot of what you did when you got started hunting was sort of by yourself. Do you see yourself kind of getting your son to the point where you think he'll start hunting by himself, or is that going to be a thing where now you've got your hunting buddy for quite some time now and you're almost like duo hunter for a while, you think? Or
Yeah, it's interesting. Mine and his personalities couldn't be more opposite. He's more like my wife. Very, very, very social. Like he thrives on people and things around him. Like he's in fact, he's with his buddies at the lake right now, you know, and he told us the other day, we're like, Hudson, don't you need a break from your friends? And he's like, Mom, the grind never ends. And we're just like, okay. So he's like, I don't see him transitioning and being, you know, carrying on my whatever legacy or whatever, carrying on the solo hunter thing. I just don't see him out there on the mountain by himself. It's just not going to happen. He's a social person for sure. Now my daughter, on the other hand, she'll walk around the neighborhood by herself. She's a lot more like me, but
Interesting. So. One thing I really liked about that hunt that you documented with your son was like, and there's no wrong way, I guess, to get a youth into hunting. But one thing that I really liked about this one is oftentimes there's like, you know, it's a very controlled environment and there's maybe a lot of hand holding. And I just thought this was really cool how you're like, okay, well, there's some turkeys. It's like, well, go figure it out, you know, like, and
kick them out of the nest.
And you know, I think that's oftentimes, you know, as hard as it may be, that's the best way to learn things. And it was a little kick them out of the nest, and you know, lengthen that leash a little bit. And it was just I thought it was a fresh way to look at it. You know, it was it was lighthearted. It wasn't like we got to get one, we got to have that success. It was like, no, let's learn, let's have some fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've learned with Hudson and is that you know, as a parent and as a father, you want to show your kids, you want them to learn how to do things. But I think sometimes, you know, in my case, I was spending too much time showing him how to do things and doing it and working with him that I felt like he wasn't getting the experience of the figuring stuff out. You know, when we were kids, we had to figure crap out. You know, and I just, on this hunt, and Charles was a perfect person to take us with, to go out hunting with. Like, I just wanted Hudson to experience things and to figure it out on his own. And I just wanted to be a fly on the wall. You know, essentially that's all I was. Most of the filming I did was from 50 yards behind, you know, just following these guys around. And Charles was a phenomenal teacher because he would teach Hudson a couple of things, but then also be very observant and let Hudson express to him what he was observing and what he was seeing and everything. So it was just a great situation. And, you know, that's just the approach that Charles and I both took in having Hudson out there, was let him experience the hunt and figure this out, because if we're doing it for him, he's not going to learn how to do it. You know, when we were kids, we had a couple of mentors, but for the most part, we were out grinding on the mountains behind our house, figuring it out, you know?
Yeah.
So, but it was a blast just seeing his face and just interacting with him in a hunting situation. And that 90% of that hunt, you didn't see 90% of the footage. We spent a lot of time sitting on our butts and walking through the mountains, not seeing or hearing anything, you know. But he handled it. He handled it like a champ. It was great. So
that's super cool. Yeah, and I think that's something that shined through on that too, is like just watching that learning happen. You know, watching him figure it out and like, oh, I'm gonna make, you know, the turkey's doing this, I'm going to make this decision. And, you know, as you're watching, like, oh, yeah, that might work out, you know, or whatever.
Yeah. Well, you know, and jump shooting turkeys, man, that's about as good as it gets, too. So to watch your boy run around the woods with a shotgun in his hand, that's pretty dang fun. So that was a
awesome.
blast.
That was awesome, man. All of the films were really good. I truly enjoyed them all. And I guess I'll plug it, shameless plug. If you want to check them out, go to the Vortex YouTube page, Vortex Selects. You can see several films that Tim put together there, and they're all super good. So I like them all.
Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say I liked them all equally in different ways. They were like really, really unique, each one.
Yeah, originally when this concept came about, when we were talking with Sawyer, it was like we were going to take one hunt. That was the concept. We were taking one hunt and separating it into 4 parts. And then I went on that hunt, and it was an unsuccessful hunt. And I didn't kill, but it was like it made a lot more sense to take 4 hunts that I had done that were all very, very different and yet very, very similar at the same time. They all had just something unique, I think, a unique perspective to the solo hunting aspect that each one of them brings to the table. That I think it was a great combination of the 4, to present. So I'm proud of them, how they turned out, and I'm grateful to you guys for putting them on a platform and getting them out there. So.
Oh man, no, we appreciate it. They're awesome.
I can't wait to I can't wait to get a lot more feedback on them. Once guys see the rest of them. So you've released what, 2 of them so far? I think 2 of them.
Right.
I
woke up this morning. I didn't even remember what day it was exactly, so I got to go back and check to see what we've done thus far.
Well, then I was lucky, or we were lucky, because we got to see all of them. So I watched them all like bam. I got to binge watch them.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
But
That's the best way.
So sorry everybody. I get.
What else you got over on that fancy list there, Marco?
Oh man, I got lots of things. One thing that's not on the list, but a question for a person who maybe is, thinking about maybe embarking on their first solo hunt. What would be some suggestions or even some guidance or some things to consider to maybe not push them over the edge physically, because we don't want that to happen on their solo hunt, but maybe give them the confidence, like, yep, I can go do this. Yeah,
it's funny, the most questions I get from guys on solo hunting, and it seems to be the biggest hurdle, which to me seems like the smallest hurdle, is like, how do I get over the point of being out there alone, or spending the night on the mountain alone?
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing to me, and even with some guys that I've hunted with and guys I've run across on the mountain, it's like once that sun starts to dip in the sky and gets really close to the horizon, guys are heading back to the truck. And it's like there's a lot of people out there that just don't have the experience of something like hiking back to the truck in the dark, or even just sleeping on the mountain by themselves in the night. So that's overwhelmingly the most questions I get, is how do you overcome the fear, or how do you overcome that? And which is kind of surprising to me, but maybe it shouldn't be. So that's if someone can overcome anything, it's like just spend the night out in your yard, and then go a little bit farther and spend the night, and then go even deeper and spend the night. But if you just break through your barriers and your fear one time, then you'll realize it's going to be okay. Odds are you're probably not going to get eaten by a bear that night, so, and I hope they don't.
Maybe another night.
yeah. That
anything's possible.
No, I mean, I think that's a good one. And that's one that I wouldn't have thought of as kind of, baby stepping your way into it. And that is a tough one. It's weird, like just in the way we live nowadays, whether it's your family or being at work, or you go on a hunting trip, which actually I would say, like, a big part of hunting, like there's really cool parts of every hunt, and one hunt might be more about the camaraderie, and then another hunt might be more about testing yourself on some crazy Tim Burnett solo hunt, right? But I do like that, even just getting used to being alone. Like you said, go camp in your backyard, and, when it's time to go to bed, you just go to bed, and you don't have necessarily inputs from, electronics or other people. It's just you, and I guess learning how to be, alone with your thoughts, which I could see being challenging.
And scary, depending on who you are.
Yeah. Some people just aren't going to enjoy it. They just don't enjoy not having noise. Like my son, he has to have his earbuds in, or has to have the music playing somewhere or something. Some people just can't handle the silence. I'm the type, I can drive to Texas and back without turning on the radio. It's certain people are wired for that. But even just sleeping on the mountain one night, do it. Lay out under the stars, look at the Milky Way, listen to the sounds, just freaking absorb it and enjoy it, and realize that there's a lot of really, really cool things out there when you can get rid of the noise, and that's something that I just have just an appetite and a craving for that alone, whether I'm hunting or not. And if somebody doesn't have that, craving, man. I'm sorry for you. You know, it's too bad. But
Does that, I mean, do you find that being alone allows you to be like 100% present in the moment? I know that word gets thrown around a lot, but I mean, I know like for myself, when I hunt by myself, and it could be just like a whitetail hunt, right? I mean, you go out, yeah, it's a day hunt, but you go out by yourself, you've made all your own decisions, you're in the tree by yourself, and you are alone with your thoughts to, you know, just really, you know, witness or, you know, experience like everything that's going on around you. I mean, do you find that allows you to maybe appreciate the smaller things or take time to appreciate the smaller things, like noticing, you know, taking time to notice the stars or taking time to notice, you know, whatever animal might be there or even just the sunset?
yeah, when you take every element out of an environment or out of a situation, but your mind, you know, and essentially you can take your body out of the equation. You just sit tight, you fold your arms, and you just are super silent and quiet, and you're just observing and listening. Like you totally have a separation, and you're immersing yourself into nature, wherever the situation might be. Whether it's in a tree stand and you can still hear the road traffic, or you know horns honking, or whatever it is, you're not a part of a nature. You're just observing it. You're just taking it all in. Same thing in the back country. If you're just there and there's no communication going on between you and your buddy or your guide or whatever it is, or there's no, you know, lights flashing from cameras and different, like if you're just there, you're really truly more a part of a nature than you are with a group or with friends. Like you can, and in my mind, you can just shut everything down and literally just observe what nature is in its truest form, you know. And that's just it's so hard to describe and explain into words, but it's so filling and so addictive to me that you just it's a craving. You know, I sit here in my office after 2 weeks. I'm ready to go out, and even if it's just for one night, I'm ready to just be gone. It's like this morning. I was just ready to be on the road and go somewhere and not have any noise or anything, but just static noise and staring down the street. You know,
But then you got
I
us
crave
ears.
that.
I was gonna say,
What's
then
that?
you got that Vortex podcast leash just jerking you back into.
Yeah, but then when I'm done, guess what? I get to go back. I have to go do it, you know, because I have other responsibilities I got to do. So like, but I just crave those things, you know. I look forward to it, just like other people might crave going to the dance club.
Yep. Yeah, no.
That's
Well,
Mark.
maybe.
Mark.
Yeah.
Mark,
Big dance
Oh
club
man,
guy.
give me a shiny shirt in a club and a smoke machine, and we are off to the races.
that's right. I just have to remember not to smile too big because my fake teeth will glow in the ambient, in the black lights.
You know, hearing you talk about that, Tim, though, it reminded me of something that I thought it was super cool. So we were doing some remote schooling lately, and one of the exercises for our oldest daughter was to go outside and essentially like pay attention. And it was like, okay, so, and it'd be like, so what do you hear right now? So, and we went out barefoot, we were in the grass. So what do you feel right now? What are you seeing right now? And so she's like, oh, I hear a bird. I'm like, well, what kind of bird is that? Well, I think that's a robin. We talk about birds. You know, I'm like, what do you feel? She's like, oh, I feel the grass, you know? But it was a really cool to watch her, like the things that she was noticing, but it was a really interesting reminder for myself to be, I guess, intentional about taking time out to notice those little things as well. Like, and I was like, that's a good reminder for me. I'm going to put that little, you know, feather in my cap. And the next time I go hunting, it's like, because it's so easy. It's so easy. And that's why you're out there, right? You are focused. And, you know, I mean, you have to have all systems go and you are present because you're like, okay, did I hear a deer? Did I hear that? But like to maybe take time out to listen to maybe some more of that ancillary type stuff that you don't always take time to notice. I mean, I've ignored like a crazy sunset. You're like, oh my God, that's the most beautiful thing I've seen. But you're like, but there's a deer down here. And I'm just like hyper focused on the deer and you miss the sunset or whatever. So anyway, I thought that was kind of something.
I think it helps keep you in tune for a lot of different situations. You know, you think about like, you mentioned the different birds that you hear or whatever else, but from a hunting standpoint, if you're attuned to those sounds and you're up on what's going on around you, you can notice the changes too. So if you're up hunting elk and everything's going on, and then all of a sudden you hear, say a squirrel go off or whatever else, or the forest gets silent, you can read the situation. If everything goes silent and just super dead quiet, it's like, well, maybe there's a black bear creeping through this patch of trees or whatever else. Or if that chipmunk just lights up and goes crazy, maybe there's a herd of elk kind of easing their way up through, and the different bird sounds. But you can kind of read nature just by the sound of it, as well as by the smell of it, and then by the feel of it, and the sight of it. So there's all these things that just brings your whole body and your whole mind into tune with the wild and with the hunting situation. I think the more in tune and the more observant and the more into the situation you can be, the better hunter you're going to be.
Yeah. And it is, I think personally, easier to do that stuff when you are by yourself, I guess, just because you don't have. I think whenever I've been around other people, usually I'm just always kind of thinking about like, oh, is the other person good? Am I being awkward? Do we need to talk now? Do I need to bring this up? Whatever. But
do you want to go left or right?
Yeah. But I think I was going to ask you something along those lines. If you've become more in tune with a lot of that stuff and you've been able to put two and two together, because I think to myself, obviously being in marketing, one thing that I've always tried to do is, if I'm driving in my car and I see a billboard or whatever, something happens, and I actually paid attention to it, or if I'm watching YouTube videos and I actually paid attention to a 30-second ad and I, for some reason, watch it all the way to the end, a lot of people just be like, oh, okay, next thing. But I'm like, oh, well, what was it that made me pay attention to that? Or what was it that made me watch that whole thing? And then actually analyze the thing and then be able to figure out, oh, it was this that made that happen. In a hunting situation, when there's so many times I've been out hunting with Mark, you or Muck and Hearn or Eric, you guys are like the main people that I've gone out with, but I'll just be sitting there and a lot of times, because I'm still working on not being so absent-minded, I think, when I'm just like sitting there and nothing's happening, but a lot of times I'll be sitting there and all of a sudden it's, oh, did you hear that? That was a deer just blew, or something like that. And right. I think to myself, nope, didn't hear anything. Or you'd be like, that was so crazy. Did you hear it? And then, nope, I didn't. Or, oh, look over there. Do you see that? Nope.
I don't want to go hunting
I don't
with
know
Jimmy.
about that, Jim, because I'm going to give you just a compliment here. Your game eye is actually off the charts. For a person that, not new, we've done a fair amount of hunting together, but it's not like you were like some crazy lifelong hunter. And we were out the other day hunting turkeys. And you're like, oh, there's one. I'm like, what the, damn it, Jim. But so anyway, you have an excellent game eye.
I get it from my wife. She couldn't care less about hunting, but I tell you what, that woman can point out anything, anywhere. She's got X-ray vision.
That's awesome.
It's crazy.
Yeah, women can point out anything anywhere, whether hunting or not. They can point out something from 19 years ago, and they're going to remember it.
Yeah,
it's true.
And we were at such a disadvantage there because be like, well, remember when you did this? And I can't dispute it because I don't remember. I mean, chances are you're right, but you could have made that up as well. And I'm still.
I think my wife will tell you that my most used line is I have no memory of that. Sorry, babe, I have no memory of that.
Please.
You could be a politician.
Yeah. I have no recollection of that incident.
But say with the deer, my first reaction when I see a buck or something, I'm like, oh, which way's the wind blowing? Okay, I'm gonna do this, and then you're like, well, what time of day is it? Okay, what's going on? So you start putting all the pieces together of this whole scenario based off of what's going on and what's around you. You might be sitting there glassing for deer and hear a covey of chucker fly up, and you're like, okay, well, why did that covey of chucker fly up at 1 o'clock in the afternoon? Are they really? So something had to have probably spooked them out of your bed. So you're like, okay, well, maybe a buck or maybe some deer got up and moved through a covey or coyote or whatever else. But you're always just kind of attuned to everything that's going on around you and looking at that as a hunting situation. Is this going to be? Can I use this to my advantage, or what kind of information can I gain from this for the next time? Because if I see a big buck, you can guarantee I've written down and logged in my OnX what direction the wind was blowing, what time of day it was, which direction he was heading, whatever it was. Because a big deer or a big elk or any trophy animal for that matter, or anything you're hunting is in that spot for a reason. Unless it's the middle of the rut. But if they're there like now, I mean, we'll be hunting deer in a month and a month and 10 days.
Oh, geez, yeah.
Early season, they're there for a reason. Like they're not in the rut, they're not cruising the countryside. If you see them, they're there for a reason. And odds are next year, another deer is going to be doing the exact same thing for a reason in that same area because it's a safe corridor or whatever. So you just kind of try to put all those things together for future reference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is one of the cool things about just hunting in general is it like forces you in a good way, I guess, to be observant of like really everything, your surroundings as a whole.
Have your directional skills are your directional skills just off the charts?
Yeah, when it gets dark, I lose my mind. I'm like, I got to have the map when it gets dark.
Oh, okay. You do. All right.
I'm okay. Like I'm okay until you get trees all around me and everything's black. Like then I'm like, okay, I think I know the truck's over there. You know, it's kind of within this window.
Yeah,
I can't do this.
Well, that's fair. But I was thinking to myself, anytime, you know, even when you're hunting with other people, you glass something and you walk 100 yards and you look back and you think, oh, where I just was looks nothing like I thought it looked. And actually where I glassed the deer or where I glassed the spot I'm going to looks totally different. In fact, I can't even see it. And then you wonder to yourself, where am I? Should I go back or what way's back?
I mean, that is...
No, I'm not that bad. No.
All right.
In the dark, yes, but not
yeah, I mean,
no.
In the dark.
I'm a homing pigeon in the daylight. You get me in the dark, then I lose all senses.
I am not a homing pigeon in the day or the dark, but that's why we have electronics and can drop pins and all sorts of things that actually allow.
No, man, I've spent time with guys. They're like their face is buried in their phone. I hunted with a guy, ran into him randomly on a mountain in Montana, and so we ended up spending the afternoon together. He was familiar with the show, and like, man, his face was in that sucker all the time, and I'm just like, get your face out of the GPS. You're going to be okay. We've only crossed a couple of miles. We've only crossed a couple of ridges, whatever else. Like, you're going to find your way back to the truck.
Not everybody, Tim.
I wasn't going to say it, Mark.
Hey, I got lost in Oklahoma in a couple of mile acre or like 1,000-acre farm. I mean, I was trailing a buck and with my head down and in this, that, and I come out and I was like, I did not know where I was. And I came to a fence line and I was like, or it was a power line. I was like, if I go that way, it's about 10 miles to the road. If I go that way, it's about a half a mile or one or the other. I didn't know which one, but I just got turned around big time in there. So,
oh yeah.
Did you choose
I chose
wisely?
the right one. Yes,
Okay.
I did. Very
nice.
But it was a 50-50. It was like, okay, it was dark. There was just like, okay, I don't know. So
yeah.
Well, that was in the dark. Oh, geez.
it was
Oh,
in the
boy.
dark. Oh yeah.
What about, so we were joking earlier, Tim, about talking to yourself, but like, have you ever been on an extended hunt where you're by yourself, multiple days and been like, man, I'm getting a little buggy?
Yeah. But most of it, like I kind of joke with my brother mostly is if what I said in under my breath ever reached the light of day, I wouldn't be liked very well. People just wouldn't like me. But it's like, it's the same thing. I'm out there. I'm not out there just randomly just talking out loud. It's just your thoughts. It's just what's in your head. You're like talking to yourself in your head mostly.
Yeah.
Unless I do something stupid, then I'm, whatever. But
do you find that having the camera along almost like kind of helps alleviate some of that? Like, I guess not having that human interaction, it's almost like having somebody with you.
Yeah, the cameras are like a person.
Yeah, I've learned that I really like to communicate with the viewer. I really do. I enjoy it, and I feel like I owe it to them to explain and to talk the way through the situation. And I also feel like I've really grown to enjoy being vulnerable on the camera and saying, hey, I just did something stupid or whatever, and just telling it how it is and being the realism of it and not feeling like I have to be on script or I have to, be on my A game. It's like, it is what it is. And if I have something, quirky or funny to say, I'm going to say it. If I'm serious, I'm going to say it. But it's essentially like, it is kind of a release to have that there because you can voice what's going on and then move on, be like, okay, that was cool, and then hopefully they like it. And if they don't, I get to edit it out.
You may exactly. And that is also the beauty of recording things not live. But,
Solo editor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You bring up the idea of, sometimes you might screw up and then being real with that. And I think I think that's super awesome when people can do that, and there's a lot of people out there, I think, that many times, unfortunately, they have the mindset that, oh, if you screw up, you're an idiot instantly. And people forget so often that everybody starts from ground zero, right? Like when you're born, nobody's born knowing. You might have some natural abilities or things that you can naturally gravitate towards. But even if you're somebody that's a natural best basketball player to ever live or natural best hunter to ever live, you still had to learn all this stuff that you just might have learned it quicker than somebody else would have. But learning things, I've found a lot of times in you're talking about it before, you had to figure a lot of stuff out. It can oftentimes be learned through screwing stuff up, but then it can also be learned by somebody with experience teaching you something. Do you find, and this probably just gets into learning styles a little bit and stuff, but do you find that sometimes you have a harder time ever learning new things because the only way that you get to learn them when you're hunting solo is by going out and doing them and potentially screwing it up? Or are you also consulting people before you go on hunts to try and get information ahead of time? What's your best way of learning when you're doing all this?
I'm not very good at asking for help or asking questions or asking for advice or any of that kind of thing. I'm just not very good at it. I'd probably be a better hunter if I would ask, for like drawing a new area, that I have no experience with. It might be valuable to reach out and find somebody that's hunted that area, ask for their advice on different places to start out or whatever else. But I don't have that mindset. I have the mindset of hunting is an experience for me. I've never been a great hunter, but I've learned over a lot of years to hunt and to hunt and do it well. In most cases, there's still some cases where I screw up, and where I don't do what's right. But for me, I really like the process of hunting so much, and I like the process of exploring and figuring it out, that I'm willing to go without notching my tag on this hunt this year because next year I'll have it again, maybe potentially, or have another one. And every hunt that I go on, it's another experience and it's another adventure. And I've learned to just not put the stress of having to notch a tag on any given hunt. And I think if you looked at all of hunting television, I'm probably the least tag villainous sucker out there, and it's not because I couldn't, I don't think. I think the majority of the times I could and can, but I think it's because I'm either not ready to, or I do something that messes it up, or I just didn't figure it out good enough. So, but there's always next year. So, it's an experience. It's a part of life. It's what you do, and I'm going to be doing for a long time, hopefully. And I don't feel like success in any given hunt, any given year, is that important. Like it's just a part of it's a process.
That's a hard thing to try and teach nowadays, I feel like, to talk about people like screwing up. I feel like you see so many people nowadays who just, their mindset is that there is no tolerance for screwing up, and I don't know where
Have you read comments on the internet, Jim?
I don't know where people get, and you see it, I don't know where people get it from so much, but it just seems the more and more time goes on, the more and more I see people where there is no patience and there is no grace period for screwing stuff up, and it's like everybody screws stuff up. From.
Well, it comes from when people watch a hunting TV show, they're always successful, or when somebody watches YouTube, they're always successful, or there's a lot of vocal people in the industry, with big platforms that are like, he's not a killer, so he's not legit. There's enough big voices like that out there saying that it's become into the forefront. I've had individuals that I've worked with and partnerships, because I don't kill enough, I'm not valuable enough, whatever. And that's why I think there's that voice out there, and that stigma out there that if you're not filling every tag and notching every tag, that you're not a real hunter or whatever. It's because there's tool bags like that out there voicing that you're not that good if you're not filling your tags. And I'm here to tell you that it's BS. Hunting is an experience, and these young kids coming into it that are going on these hunts expecting to be successful and then aren't successful and then just get depressed and down on themselves, that's crap. It's just, and it's because of the voices that are out there telling them, hey, you're not good enough if you're not killing an antlered buck on every time you go out.
Well, and by and large, what does, make the final cut or what does end up being portrayed? I mean, you definitely want your content to be exciting and this, that, the other, but also it's not necessarily a realistic portrayal of hunting as a whole. So like you said, they've got a lot of folks have a false sense of what exactly is going to happen. I know this was several years ago, but just, not to get into story time, but my buddy was taking his girlfriend hunting for the first time. And this is when we worked at Cabela's, and we got on like a nice buck. Like I think it was probably like a 2.5-year-old whitetail, a buck that I would have shot any day of the week, And she's like, "No, I don't want to shoot that one. I want to shoot one that's the ones that I see in Cabela's." And I'm like,
"Good luck."
Well, good luck, And I think over time, I think she found it frustrating, and but then also like grew to realize, well, it's not always like that. And I think your philosophy, Tim, is super cool. It's, I guess, in some ways, unfortunately, refreshing, right? You don't see a lot of that. And I think it's a big part of your success because people who do hunt or even getting into hunting and are having some of these experiences go, man, that's real. I can relate to that guy. You're an excellent hunter, Tim, and I think you don't give yourself enough credit a lot of the times, which actually is, I guess.
I do under my breath, Mark. I do. I give myself plenty of credit.
Okay, well, you're humble.
Just not publicly.
You're humble to me.
Outwardly humble.
You're outwardly humble, and yeah, man. I don't know. I appreciate it, and it really does shine through in the productions, and I think it's because you're a genuine person. And what comes off on camera is just those genuine moments. I think it's super cool. So
yeah, and I think the film that you guys are going to release next, the Audad one, the Select, it's a good example of that. It's a good example of some good hunting, some good opportunities, and some screw ups. Some really amateur mistakes made by a guy in the industry for 15 years, and it's just a really good overall picture of it. And then the next one that you'll release looks pretty awesome. It's like flawless. Pretty much didn't do anything wrong. So
yeah,
it's a good combination.
It almost sounds like hunting.
Almost, right?
One of the other things I remember thinking too is that I see portrayed so often is in videos that I watch or whatever, people always see something.
Oh, you're right.
I didn't know how to word that at first, but people always see something. And so I just thought it was like, you just go out in the woods at some point and then you just sit long enough or you just go anywhere and you're going to see something. It'll just pop out of the woods somewhere, right? And then you go hunting a couple times and you don't see anything and you think to yourself, am I doing something wrong?
Right.
Is this, and that's where it took me asking some people or having gone on some hunts with other people to have learned that. But if I were only solo, which actually I know, interestingly enough, too, somebody listening to this, we're in a period of time where a lot of people are starting out solo now, and they didn't have family that hunted, but they just decided, gosh darn it, I'm going to do it for any number of reasons. It may just be because you want to, maybe because you think that the cooking aspect of it or whatever is super cool. But yeah, and then you have people like that who probably consult media a lot because they can't go to their family, because their family might even get mad at them if they found out they were hunting or whatever. But they consult media and then they assume, well, geez, I went out twice, I didn't see anything, I must be doing it wrong, or this is boring. Do you ever see anything? Or
right. When in reality, it's like, no, that was the one out of 10 times when the stars actually aligned. I think we may have even had that discussion one time on a hunt. You're like, is this, we haven't seen it. I'm like, oh no, Jim, it's always like this.
Yeah, that's exactly right. No, I think that's part of what has, attributed to some of the success of Solo Hunter is that both Remy and I are very good at documenting what we see. And we both, if you look through the last 10 years of episodes, there's a handful of episodes each where we come home empty-handed, and not for lack of effort. We hunt hard, And Remy's is as good of a hunter as there is anywhere in the world. And when he comes home empty-handed or doesn't have a successful hunt, that's just reality. It's just the way that it is. There are hunters out there probably, and there's some of them that will be very vocal about it, saying they've never not filled a tag. Well, that's great. That's awesome.
Cool.
Good for you, buddy.
Made a lot of tag soup in my day.
Yeah.
But, and a lot of that, though, like some of that you can attribute to, right? Like you're talking about, well, yeah, I drew a premier unit perhaps, and, I could use a lot of these different resources or, heck, maybe somebody's like, I'll give you all my waypoints, right? I'll drop a pin every spot. I've hunted that unit 3 times, or I used to guide that unit or whatever, right? But I guess what I think also is super cool, and I'm all about using resources, by the way. But taking
resource guy.
I am too. I'm just terrible at asking for it.
But still being willing to take the approach to be like, this hunt is going to be perhaps more fulfilling if I just go and do this, and everything is relative too. Like you could go have somebody give you all the information you could ever need. Heck, maybe they even go show you the unit and you shoot a 200 incher, or maybe you grind it out and you learn it, and you maybe do, or I guess don't get maybe a quote smaller buck, I guess, but is one less or more fulfilling than the other? I could argue that you're going to be more fulfilled by the one that you did yourself.
The funny thing is, you could still follow somebody's waypoint every single step of the way until they get you into the exact spot that they tell you that they think there's going to be a gigantic 200 incher there.
Yeah, right.
And you still might not see anything.
I have a really good friend of mine. He's in probably his late 60s now. He drew a sheep tag this year in an area that he's hunted a ton. He and I have hunted antelope up there. Like he's a super experienced hunter here in Nevada. And yet, when he told me that he drew his tag, it was like a week after the tag results came out. And he's like, yeah, I've already been up there 3 times and done the scouting and this and that. And he says, I've got all these trips. He's like, I want to take you up. Let's go. Like, here's a guy that has tons and tons of hunting experience in that area. And he's, in his late 60s. He knows that area like the back of his hand. And he's still going up there as often as he can and putting in all these trips because that's hunting. Like that's living, hunting and wanting to figure it out and not being 100% confident in your ability of that or knowledge of that area that you're going to be successful. I drew a tag this year that I've hunted that unit twice and I've killed a really good buck and I missed an opportunity at a really good buck. But I find myself this year scouting going to areas that I didn't see those big bucks. Like I want to see some new country. I want to get into a different part of it. So, for one, so that my episodes don't look all the same. But for two, there's other parts of this country that look awesome that I want to get into, So it's so much more than just trying to find the shortcut to success, to a trophy shot.
That's a good way to put it.
I got a question. I'll try and figure out the best way to ask it. I know what I want to get to, but I'm going to try and think how to say it. It's not like a gotcha or anything either, but it's just so somebody's thinking about, hey, I want to do this. I want to go on a solo hunt, basically, right? And let's say they haven't done it much before, and I'm thinking more in terms of somebody who's really, really more towards the beginning side of hunting in general. I see a lot of people nowadays where the idea of having to have every single aspect of every single part of a trip or an experience or anything has to be just perfectly planned, right? I need to research until I'm blue in the face as to all the right gear I got to get. I got to order all of it. Some of it's going to be on back order. Some of it's got to be, custom made, whatever. So that's going to take a bunch of time. And then I got to find exactly the right unit. I got to find the right place to go. I got to do this amount of workout training, and I have to figure out all my food and all that stuff. That's Lightweight Dave, by the way.
Yes.
I was just describing him. I just realized. But he does it in a different way because actually that's the part that he really likes doing. But I'm getting at somebody who feels the need, even though they don't necessarily, that's not what they get super excited about like Lightweight Dave does. That's not what they get super excited about, but they feel like they have to do all that. And once that's all finally done, now I can finally go on this trip. At what point do you, and what I like about where you've what you've kind of said in some things is, part of it is just getting out there and finding out that you packed the wrong thing or that you screwed up a little bit, that you're not in the right spot. At what point do you feel you would tell somebody, hey, you've got this checklist checked, you're good to go. If you don't have everything else perfect, that's okay. But these are your essential things that you should probably either know or have. They might be physical, or just things to know. And if you kind of got that figured out, you're good. Like, send it.
I think a lot of it comes down to a person's experience. If someone is relatively inexperienced in hunting or in like, I can see why that would be some concerns or a fear. Those are real concerns. I gotta know. I gotta have some waypoints. I gotta have some direction. I need to have this because they just haven't experienced that. And so if you're in that stage and you are inexperienced, go through it. By all means, do all that, have all those checklists, check all those boxes, talk to as many people as you can, because you're going to figure out your own system and what you like and what you enjoy. Guys that have been doing it for a lot more time, it's like we have our system, we're in the flow. We're not worried about certain things because I've worried about those 15 years ago and I've already eliminated that concern, and now we're looking at what's relevant now to this specific situation. So a lot of it comes down to making sure that you have your hunting core gear that matters, so to just eliminate those concerns. And then it's, from there, it's hunting the animal. It's learning more about the species, learning more about the country.
Yeah.
And I think on that note, a lot of guys get too tied up into gear, that having certain amount of gear is what's going to make you successful, or make you a better hunter. I've got one of my best friends from high school. In fact, he, on an episode that I just published last year on my Idaho mule deer hunt, guys are like, look at that doofus standing there in his Big Ben overalls, whatever else, and he's got a JanSport backpack on and he's got these tan overalls, and I don't even think he's wearing, just as he's not into gear at all. But that dude slayed some big bucks, man.
Yeah.
He knows how to kill some deer. And so it doesn't always come down to, having to have the whole list of everything. As long as you have the right key things, then you're good.
Nothing beats just doing it. I think back to, and I'll unapologetically bring in cars, of course, but I think back to getting into cars, and it was like researching them just until you'd fall asleep practically at the computer, how they work, all this stuff about it. And then one day I was like, you know what? I'm going to buy a salvage $800 piece of crap car, and I'm just going to take it all apart. And in the amount of time that it took, and I got like a wrench set from Menards on sale or something. And in the time that it took me, the few weeks after that of actually seeing it and touching it and working on it and taking it apart and seeing how all this stuff in person went together, learned way more than I ever would have just sitting on the computer. And it's the same way for hunting it when I've gone hunting too, because you were around hunting all the time. You see people talking about it all the time and giving tips and this, that, and the other thing. But then you get out there and nothing replaces your body actually being in the position. Because regardless of how many videos you've watched, you're still going to feel awkward the first time you're out there. Like, I'm actually here now.
Yeah. Well, how invested in hunting do you really want to be? Do you want to just be invested in hunting, for like, you have to look at it as a long term. This is something you're going to be doing forever and it's like I guess it just comes back to everybody wants to have that instant success, be like, they want to be Remy Warren now. They don't want to spend the 20 years that he's spent to get to there, or maybe they do, but it's impatient, and it's a hard position to be in, because we're not in that position. We've already been in it for 20 years. And so not 20, but we've already been in it for 15 years. So it's easy for me to look back and say, just be patient, just take your time. Because if I go back to myself 15 years ago, it's like, yeah, I want to be popular now. I want sponsors now. I want a TV show now. I want to kill a big buck now. And so I was probably in that situation too. So a lot of it's just going to come with age and time.
Yeah. But I'm glad now that I know some tan overalls and a JanSport backpack. If I'm at that point, you're good to go. Send it.
Well, and I think that's super cool. I mean, Jim, I'm not super into hunting gear, but
yeah, right.
But I think that's,
I could pan my office and be.
But I think that's really cool, and I think it ties back into kind of what you're talking about earlier about even just like being comfortable, hunting solo is, I think. A lot of, and I think backcountry hunting is super cool, and like I said, I love backpacks and all that good stuff, right? But that's also kind of what gets portrayed as cool. But your first hunt doesn't have to be that, right? You can baby step your way, do a day hunt, do an overnighter, and then when you do that overnighter, pack your tent and go. Oh, well, maybe was that heavy, or oh man, I got cold. But you're not like. Yeah. 5 days in, or you don't have this 5-day hunt plan that's all of a sudden getting derailed because you don't have the right jacket, perhaps.
Your first hunt should be a butt kicker. It should suck. Your first hunts, in fact, your first several hunts should suck.
Oh my God.
You should have experiences that you'll never forget.
I go back to hunting blacktails as a kid, cotton sweatshirt, blue jeans.
Yeah.
Raining constantly. I mean, like, I remember literally, like, my dad left us probably because he actually wanted to go try and kill a deer. And my brother and I were just sitting on this logging road for probably longer than he intended. But God, I remember, I actually probably had hypothermia.
Yeah. I was thinking back and laughing about my first solo hunt because I wore those stupid neoprene waders because I thought I was going to end up in water, and there was no water anywhere nearby. So I was 170 degrees inside of those dang things. And then I was like,
probably wetter than if you'd actually fallen into the water.
I was drenched in sweat. So yeah, And then I kept looking at I looked at the map and I said, I want to get there. And so I just went as the crow flies on the map, and I ended up in the thickest, nastiest, rose thorniest crap ever, and I made so much noise, and then I had to try and take off my waders in the middle of this whatever it was, and then try and get through. And by that point in time, every deer within 5 miles had heard me cussing and swearing at all the crap around me, and I came out on the other side, and I remember being like, they might be out here in this big, giant, open nothingness expanse, and there was no deer, and I was pretty bummed. And I was surprised at the time. Like, how is there no deer out here? And I'd been out there for 5 minutes after making just tons of noise.
But then, I'm sure you vividly remember that hunt, the lessons learned along the way. I think you learned a little bit about water
and how it wasn't as bad as I thought it was, just not even there.
Well, and also how the flat water might not necessarily be the shallow water.
Oh, that was another time that I went solo hunting, and yeah. Yeah, I was trying to cross a stream, and I looked at the stream, and there was a rushing part where you could see the water rippling, and then there was a nice little still part, and I thought to myself, well, the rushing part looks scary. I'll go through the still part. That's probably the shallower part. And I quickly learned it's actually reverse.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's awesome, and you get a funny story
after
out
almost
of it.
Losing my waders in the mud bog.
Yep.
Well, what do you learn by cresting over the hill on your 4-wheeler, seeing a buck standing there and blasting it, and throwing it on the back and heading back to the truck by breakfast? What do you learn from that?
Well, it depends how you portray it on Instagram.
Well. Yeah, Instagram.
Sorry, I wasn't. I'm not trying to I'm not trying to be negative. I was just
surprised
joking
that
around.
comment came from you.
It's true. It's true. You guys only see what I want you to see, right?
That's right.
It's the beauty of editing.
That's why my first 2 solo hunts are not on Instagram. They're on this.
But those experiences. Podcast. That's what learning. I mean, you learn those things, and if everything's easy, you're not learning as much. You learn a lot more from adversity and than you do from something that happens easy.
It is true. And it's hard. It's hard. It's hard when you're doing it, and sometimes it sucks while you're doing it.
Yeah, but
then somehow it's better in the end.
It is. It's the classic. Oh, you're gonna laugh on this when you look back. Nobody wants to hear that, but it's true.
But when you're good at it and you do it successfully and you come back and then you everybody thinks that you're a god. They're just like, wow, you're so good. You do all these solo hunts and you capture it on film. We want to have you on our podcast. It's like people think you're cool, right? So that's the drive. Everybody wants to do it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
We think you're cool. Thanks for being on our podcast.
No.
Marco, what have we missed on there?
So I got a couple. I guess I got a couple more. Here's one. Have you ever been in a super sketchy situation that when you're by yourself that you're like, well, like that scared me. Like that was close. Like that either did or almost got real bad.
No, not at the time. No, thinking back on it, I think I look back and I say, whoa, that was probably pretty bad. But in the moment, I was never afraid, never scared. I mean, I remember a whitetail I shot up in northern Idaho. I shot it out of a tree stand. And as he went over on the ridge and was staggering, a black bear came up, took him by the back of the neck, drug him up over the hill, and drug him down the side of the thing. So I thought, let's give it a few minutes. He'll finish off my deer, climb down, and I'm dragging, making noise and everything. And it gets dark. And, I can't see this deer, but I can hear drag marks, and I can hear dragging. So I'm like, just making all this noise, no big deal. And finally everything gets quiet, and I step up on this stump where it had been logged. I step up on it with my flashlight, and I'm kind of panning around, not seeing anything. I'm like, what the heck? I can hear it right there dragging. And I look down at my feet, and here's this giant black bear on top of my deer just looking straight up at me, probably 5-6 feet away, right underneath me. So I jump back, and I'm like, oh, okay, I'll come back in the morning or whatever. And then I'm just there with my bow. So, and the whole time I'm on the phone with my wife on the cell phone, and she's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm tracking this deer. This bear's got this deer in his mouth, this dragon.
Oh man, there's this
She's
deer
like,
like
what?
5 feet near me.
Yeah. And she's like, get out of there. I'm like, no, babe, everything's fine. Like, and in the moment, I had no fear. Like, I was not worried about it. And I ended up leaving the deer that night and coming back and spooking the bear off the next morning with my gun. And partly because I wanted to see if I could kill the bear is what I wanted to do. But like then thinking back on it, it's like, yeah, that probably could have ended up pretty bad, So it probably was one of those sketch situations, but in the moment I just didn't think about it that way.
I'll just write this down. Tim Burnett is unscarable.
Oh, I'm scarable. I am scarable.
Tim Burnett,
no
unafraid of bears.
Lightning scares me. Lightning scares me. Yeah.
Light. Okay, good. Well, I
right.
think
The one thing that like we can't predict and that comes from the sky and can zap you. Yeah, that's
Yes,
right.
That's reasonable.
Yeah, it scares you. And if you've hunted in Nevada in August, you can.
Ooh,
magic sounds.
Podcast foul.
No, you can definitely tell. You can experience a lot of those afternoon lightning storms. It'll just scare the crap out of you.
Oh yeah.
Eesh. Yeah, lightning is weird, man.
That it is.
I don't
Don't mess with it.
I don't care for it myself.
I'll mess with the bear way before I'll mess with lightning.
Yeah, you can't shoot lightning.
Get away.
Can't scare it away.
Lightning.
What I was gonna, I've always been curious. Like you just get used to seeing like you and Remy, or individually, or on Solo Hunter. How did you guys meet? How did that come about?
Yeah. So when Solo Hunter came about, it came about kind of randomly because I was producing another show on Sportsman Channel and they lost funding. And then anyway, Solo Hunter came out. And so I was like, I needed footage. The only footage that I had was my 5 or 6 solo hunts. And at that point, hunting season was already over or most of the way through. And I didn't have anything for the next fall or for the next season. Because when Solo Hunter hit the air, it wasn't, I'm not going to say it was a big hit, but like sponsors were calling, and like it was very, very popular at the time.
What year was that, Tim?
That was in 2010. That was
2010. Okay.
Fourth quarter of 2010. So in the last couple of episodes, I put a little call to action. Hey, and if any of you guys are out there solo hunting and you want to be featured on the show, send me some footage, blah, blah, blah. Well, Remy had seen that, or a friend of his, I think, had seen that and said, hey, Remy, you should send some of your footage into this guy. So Remy, I think that year I had over 600 tapes. Yeah, 600 people sent in tapes. And at that time, I was loading the tapes, digitizing them, and mailing the tapes back. So I spent a lot of money. That was a stupid mistake. I should have said, you send in your tape, you lost it. It's done. It's gone. But so I had all of this footage, and Remy was one of these guys. And there was a few others that had some great stuff too. And so season 2, you'll notice there's some of Remy's hunts, and early on in Solo Hunter, the first couple of seasons, there was a lot of stuff that wasn't solo. and a lot of different personalities and people. And so that's how I had come to know of Remy, and I thought he lived in Montana. So I think I remember one day I was talking to him on the phone. I'm like, hey, you know, what hunts have you got? And he says, I've got these hunts. And I said, sweet, just pop them in the mail. And he's like, well, how about I just drop them by? And I'm like, what, you're in Reno? And he says, yeah, I live in Reno. And I didn't even know it until after knowing him for over a year, maybe 2 years. And turns out we live like 4 miles apart, you know, or something.
Oh,
so,
wow.
But then just getting to know him over the years, and you know, you guys know Remy really well. He's one of the good guys. He's one of the truly good people in the world, let alone just in the hunting space.
Yep.
And so we hit it off really well because I'm equally as true and as cool as he is, and we just became really good friends and have grown ever since. So it's rare to see partnerships last over 10 years, you know, or even remotely close to that. And we don't even have a formal partnership. We've just worked together well and have continued to do so.
Nice.
That's awesome, man. No, that's a cool story. And yeah, I mean, both you guys, you know, we talked about, I'm just going to keep giving you compliments, Tim, but, you know, just genuine, cool, down to earth, good hunters, knowledgeable, humble, probably, like I said, both you guys more than you should be, but I guess that's, you know, what makes it cool.
We're just working stiffs, you know. I mean, Remy's still, to his credit, he's still a full-time guide. He still guides all the time. He does a lot of different things, you know. I work hard. When I went at this and realized that I was going to find some success in it early on, I decided I wanted to go the business route. I wanted to create a brand. There was a lot of others in the hunting industry at that time that had created big, massive brands that dwarf mine to this day, you know, and that's what I wanted to be, and that's what I wanted to do. So I handled everything from a business approach, and my relationships and partnerships, a lot of from a business approach. And Remy was kind of that balance. He was that free flowing, you know, free spirited. I just want to go on hunts and kill stuff and be really good, you know, and that has really attributed to a lot of his popularity and success because he's that celebrity role, you know, and so we kind of have that really, really good balance with Solo Hunter, and I'm extremely grateful for what we have. But at the end of the day, we're just two working stiffs, you know, we're just two good dudes, and we just like to do what we do. So.
Yeah, and I'd say that, you know, the one thing in common is the passion for the outdoors, passion for hunting, and passion for, you know, being successful in what you do. And you're not going to see what you guys have built. Like, it's not going to happen if you're not passionate about it.
No.
But I got one more, Jim.
By all means, Mark.
We've got Tim here.
We forgot to do the sound effects earlier because we were talking about a bear, and MC Ryan brought in this sound effects board for us, so we're going to throw in the bear sound effect.
Yeah. Excellent.
That's what editing is for. You can edit that in.
Yeah, we'll just weave it right back in when you're talking about it.
It's like Cal's Week in Review. I like how he drops in those little, you know, random sound effects.
What's your dream solo hunt to film and like come out successful? Like, what's the pinnacle? Maybe something that you haven't done yet.
So
or maybe you've done it already. Maybe you accomplished that dream.
I haven't done it. Not solo. You know, I accomplished a dream, but it was with a good friend of mine on my Dull sheep hunt. But solo would be being a Nevada resident. I should draw sheep tag. I hope to draw sheep tag at some point. And so, you know, a lot of guys when they draw a sheep tag in Nevada, they have 15 guys there with them, and you know, just it's a party. It's a family thing because it's a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Right.
I cannot wait to draw that tag and spend, you know, a month on the mountain by myself and just immersing myself in the sheep and just enjoying the country and documenting the most kick-ass film you've ever seen. And that's what I want to do. And that's how I will experience it with others, is by creating it how I'm creating it and releasing it to the world, you know, in that format. Even though it'd be great to have my brother there or whatever else, that's just not how I want to do this hunt. So.
Tim,
I can.
Mark's got the goosebump thing going
I got
on.
goosebumps, man. You gave me chills there.
Sweet.
That sounds cool. Like, I can't wait for that to happen.
So you're not invited.
Yeah, no, I'm not going. I can't wait to
everybody
watch
out there know that if I draw a sheep tag in Idaho or Nevada, you're not invited. Sorry.
Hey, you know what? It's out there. That's good. That's
There's that honesty and genuineness.
Absolutely.
Genuineness coming through again.
Absolutely. It's worse to be mysterious or arbitrary about that.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't want to lead people on.
No.
Nobody likes that.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, awesome, Tim.
I like to be led on. I like the flirting.
We'll remember that for the future.
Yeah.
So yeah.
No, I just like to.
Maybe we'll have you on every podcast from here on out. Maybe not.
I don't know. We'll just see. We'll see.
Don't. I just genuinely don't like to talk at an hour at a time that much. There's a reason why my podcast gets released about once every month. It's because I'm comfortable. My friend Ben, he hacks on me all the time. He's like, every time I call you, you're clearing your throat like you haven't been talking all day. And he's like, it's freaking 3:00 in the afternoon. I'm like, I think you're the first person I've talked to today. So yeah.
So not only the solo hunter, but the solo solo lifestyle, man.
Lone wolf.
No,
Lone wolf.
Yeah. Aside from my family, no. A lot of good friends, but I don't know how is it put. I know a lot of people. A lot of people know me, but I have very few friends. That's the way I heard it.
What was that, Clint Eastwood? Sounds like something you would say.
Something, yeah.
I don't know. You know what? A lot of truth in that, though. I mean,
Mark, you love people.
I do love people,
you absolutely love people.
People should know, Mark, that I attribute you as one of my dearest friends. And you and I have kind of talked about that before. I think you're one of my. We have known you for a long time, and so you're one of the few close friends that I have, and I appreciate that.
No, well, Tim, I sincerely, like I said, we talked about that, and I sincerely appreciate it. And that, coming from you, that definitely means a ton. So,
that's big time, Mark.
And I think it's because, my gosh, I might have gained some Instagram followers.
Yeah. Mark's one of 987 people that are my dearest friends.
Broke that 1,000 mark.
There you go.
That's right.
But no, I agree, Tim. Appreciate you, and man, like it's hard to believe that if we actually have known each other, we don't get to see each other as much as I guarantee I know I would like. But it's cool to do stuff like this. Appreciate you taking the time to jump on this and chat with us. Always super fun. Can't thank you enough. And
yeah. Awesome.
No, thank you. I'm glad to do it. So I can't wait to see everybody's reaction when we release those other two Vortex Selects. I think they'll enjoy them. So you guys check it out on the Vortex YouTube channel. Because then in 30 days we're releasing it to my channel. So
heck yeah.
Most definitely. All right. Well, thanks a
right,
ton,
guys,
Tim. Appreciate it.
Thanks, man. Take care.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right, that'll wrap it up for this episode of the Vortex Nation podcast. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Hit that subscribe button so you can always stay up to date on the latest happenings over here at the Vortex Nation podcast. You can also follow us on Instagram at Vortex Nation Podcast. Again, everybody, thanks, and happy hunting and shooting. We appreciate it. Have a good one.